today we're going to break down the, let's say, provocative worldview of YouTuber and self-described anti-feminist Hannah Pearl Davis. Now, based on a recent interview, our goal here is pretty simple. We're just going to explain her core arguments, exactly as she presents them.
Okay, so this right here, this is the central pillar of her entire argument. She kicks things off with this very direct, very controversial claim, and honestly, everything else we're going to look at today flows from this one single idea. So what does she actually mean by it?
Well, to understand her point, we first have to understand her definition of the term she uses for herself, anti-feminist.
Now, her framing of this is really specific. For Davis, anti-feminism isn't about, reversing equality or anything like that. It's more like a diagnosis of what she sees as the negative consequences of modern feminism, which she sums up by saying women are drunk on power.
So what does this crumbling actually look like in her view? Well, she points to some really specific examples. She often brings up the family court system, arguing it's just completely biased against men. She also claims that systems like alimony and child support have basically become a way for some women to get their lifestyles funded by their ex-husbands, which she sees as a symptom of this power imbalance.
Now, a huge part of her argument is rooted in a reinterpretation of history, one that really challenges the conventional narrative we all learn about female oppression.
And this quote is pretty much the gateway into her historical perspective. She's directly contrasting the traditional roles of men and women, and she's suggesting that what's usually framed as female oppression was, in her eyes, actually a form of protection.
This lays it out pretty clearly. She argues that while women were tasked with domestic duties, men historically had zero bodily autonomy when it came to war. They could be drafted, sent off to die, a fate that women, as a protected class, were shielded from. So here's the crucial link she makes. She connects all of this to civil rights. Her argument is that the right to vote was historically tied to the duty of military service. Since men were the ones expected to fight and die for the country, they were the ones who got to vote for their commander-in-chief. Okay, so moving on from history, her argument also has a major economic component, and it pretty much revolves around a single powerful statistic:
85%. She uses this number to anchor her entire economic critique of modern female behavior. But what does it represent?
According to her, women are responsible for 85% of all consumer spending. This is a huge point for her because she argues that even though the gender pay gap has nearly closed, this massive spending disparity is another sign of an unbalanced system that's contributing to that societal decay she talks about. And this spending habit, she claims, leads to what she describes as a pretty common life strategy. Step 1, women take on a ton of debt, especially for college. Step 2, they marry a man to help manage that debt. And finally, Step 3, they divorce him using alimony and child support as a lifelong income stream. That's the cycle she presents.
Davis also argues that social media has created a brand new and, in her view, incredibly destructive path for young women.
For her, the normalization of platforms like OnlyFans is a primary symptom of that societal decay she mentioned right at the beginning. It represents a fundamental shift in values that she says she's witnessed with her own eyes.
And she backs this up with another really stark number that she cites in her interview: 25%.
So this is her estimate for the percentage of young women under 25 who are involved in some form of sex work. And it's a really broad category for her. It includes not just OnlyFans, but also things like sugar baby arrangements and other kinds of online work.
So, how does this happen? Well, she describes a direct pipeline. A young woman builds a following on social media. Then an opportunity to monetize that attention pops up, and this leads directly to creating an OnlyFans account or going down similar paths.
And this quote just bluntly summarizes her conclusion. In her view, when faced with the choice of how to handle financial pressures, like college debt, modern women are increasingly choosing sex work over the traditional path of marriage.
So this brings us to her outlook for the future. I mean, given all these trends she's described, what does she think comes next? Is there a way to fix this?
Her answer is a firm no. She is deeply pessimistic, stating it unequivocally. From her perspective, the culture war is over, and her side has lost. There's really no ambiguity in her statement.
And her reasoning for this is pretty clear. She says she sees absolutely zero signs that these trends are going to change, and she flat out refuses to sell hope to her audience. Because of this, she doesn't see her role as an activist trying to change things anymore, but more like a commentator who's simply documenting what she sees as an inevitable decline. So we end with this question for you to consider. When someone believes the cause is already defeated, how does that change the nature of their message? Does it become a warning, a history, or maybe something else entirely? It's a crucial question to think about when you're analyzing commentary that comes from this perspective.